Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In this video, I have some big PSP emulation news for you, and we're also talking about the Nintendo Switch. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off here talking about everybody's favorite PSP emulator, PPSSPP. There's a brand new release of PPSSPP and it's the first one in about 9 months. Version 1.13 just dropped and it brings about a whole bunch of changes. For people specifically running newer versions of Android, version 1.13 fixes a whole bunch of scope storage related bugs and performance issues. There's now analog mapping for the fast forward feature, and there's also a whole bunch of accuracy fixes and speed ups. And the Vulkan backend sees a whole bunch of fixes here. It's got fixed performance of texture uploads, texture upscaling performance improvements, and Vulkan correctness fixes. Improved upscaling shaders, 2 new bicubic upscaling shaders, a search in settings, and this one is interesting, allow to change screen rotation per game and bind a key to change it. And in addition to that, on Android, the software rendering option makes a return. There's also a whole bunch of game fixes here. If you have a Mali GPU, you might really like this update. They've added in more workarounds for Mali driver bugs. Mali is not just a problem for emulators like Aether SX2 and Skyline, it's a problem across the board. But moving on from that, and I can talk more about that in another video, Vortex and God of War Ghost of Sparta can now be passed. Correct flickering in text in Sol Trigger and Last Ranker. Fix bad screen overlay issues in Clone Wars and Forced Unleash, and I think a lot of people will like this one. Juice 2 Bloom Effect no longer covers the entire screen. And on top of all of that, the user interface also received some improvements like color change and basic theme support. Now this emulator is free, it's open source, and it's available on pretty much every single system out there. If you do use PPSSP on Windows or on Android, I recommend picking up the gold version. It gets you nothing extra, but it does support the developer. And speaking about supporting the developers, next up here we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on Android with Skyline. You can support the developers by checking out the latest version because a new version just dropped. As always, I will leave a link to absolutely everything in the description below, so feel free to check it out. And feel free to check out version 1.256. Now this version shouldn't really offer any performance boosts, but it's always nice to remain current. To clear up any sort of confusion, version 1.256 does not contain support for turnip drivers, and support for turnip drivers seems to be the way to go. This is Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories up and running with turnip drivers, and it appears to be doing kind of okay. For those of you who want to check out an early version of Skyline with those optional turnip drivers, you absolutely can. I've done a video on how to do it and I'll leave that in the description below, and you can also join the Skyline Discord. All the links are right there in the pinned messages. And on a fun or not fun side note here, someone decided to use EggNS drivers with this development build of Skyline, and the results were, not surprisingly, pretty darn bad. The EggNS drivers were slow, they were broken, and they were straight up outdated by a very wide margin. It's also not recommended to do this because it can open up your phone to malware, and I would argue that EggNS is kind of malware in the first place. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. Let me know your thoughts about anything we talked about today in the comments below, whether it's the brand new release of PPSSPP, Skyline, or oh, I guess that was it. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, don't tempt fate, save your state.